Hare Krishna, everyone, and a warm welcome back once again to our ever ongoing series on the glories of Sri Vrindavan Dham. But first, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing with our mini-series on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 128. And today we will continue our discussions on Srimati Radharani's dress and attire. But I'd like to begin today by saying that in truth, we are only able to understand any and all things about Radha and Krishna by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Yuga Avatar. In a lecture on March 28, 1975 in Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is so unlimited that he is helping us to not only understand Krishna, but he is also giving direct love of Krishna and the supremmost platform of love as it was experienced by the gopis. So I thought today I would share with you a beautiful poem about Lord Chaitanya. The famous Brajbasi poet Kishori Das, he wrote for our benefit, covered in a golden hue with beautiful long dark eyes, that's how kindness incarnated. Wearing a yellow silk robe and curly locks, that's how mercy incarnated. Walking along with the music of countless mridangas and an ocean of devotees, that's how compassion incarnated. Holding love of Krishna in his heart and the desire to reside in Braj, that's how grace incarnated. Covered under the motherly veil of Mother Sachi, that's how kindness towards the fallen souls incarnated. The poet Kishori Das beholds the limitless ocean of kindness who incarnated for one and all. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. So as we mentioned, today we'll discuss more about Srimati Radharani's beautiful dress and attire. Of course, what is most beautiful is her transcendental body, which her dress and attire decorate. In Govinda Lilamrita, chapter 11, verse 90, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes something very small about that transcendental body, but in such a significant way as to stimulate love in our hearts. And what is that? He just describes her mouth. He writes, another gopi said, Srimati Radharani's mouth is a great mountain peak that reviles the insignificant summit of Mount Sumeru. From that mountain peak of Srimati Radharani's mouth, many rivers, such as the transcendental nectarian celestial Ganges river of Radharani's smile, the beautiful nectar river of Radharani's transcendental fragrance, the nectarian celestial Ganges river of Radharani's discourses, the nectarian Ganges river of Radharani's singing, and the nectarian celestial Ganges river of Radharani's breathing all flow to the nectar ocean of Lord Krishna, like rivers always flow to the ocean. So all this beauty of Radharani's mouth is flowing to the nectar ocean of Lord Krishna. So regarding her dress and attire, first we'll discuss what Sri Radha wears around her waist. Now the Sanskrit word for waist, well there's several words for waist, are kati, madhya desha, madhyama, and katitata. Kati is the most common and direct translation for waist. Madhya desh, this term means middle region or middle part, and can also refer to the waist. Madhyama, it can also refer to the waist, although it often means middle or intermediate, not exactly. And Katitata refers to the hips and loins, but not directly to the waist. In summary, Kati is the most accurate and widely used term for waist in Sanskrit. Now, in his Radha Krishna Gonadisha Dipika, our beloved Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, he writes in verses 162 and 163, charming, full of sweet nectar, and decorated with a deep navel, Srimati Radharani's beautiful waist enchants the three worlds. Her sloping hips lead to her charmingly beautiful slender waist, which is bound by a creeper of three beautiful folds of skin and decorated with a sash of tinkling bells. You just try to see this in your mind's eye. We want to keep this vision at one point forever in our heart, in our mind's eye. In verse 35 of Vilapa Kshamanjali by our beloved Raghunath Das Goswami, he gives more information, more details about Radharani's waist. Famously, he writes, famously, O slender-waisted one, when, fearing that your very slender waist might break, will I very carefully tie it with a new golden belt, splendid with flower cluster tassels at each end. When will that happen? It is said that Radharani's beautiful waist is slender enough to be encircled by a single hand. I actually read that in several places. Her beautiful waist is slender enough to be encircled by a single hand. Actually, all the gopis of Braj are slender in appearance. And therefore, like Shri Radha, they're often referred to as Krishodhari. It means one with a slender waist. And the slenderest gopis are called Su-Krishodhari. They're, love is in the details. They are 12 to 13 years of age. Slightly older, Radha and her Sakis are in their 14th year. So they're more grown up, but they're still quite slender. However, Chandravali and her friends are 1 year older still, and because of that, their waists and hips are a little fuller. Acharyas say their beauty, though dazzling, is rarely called slender, Krishodhari. Now, in Vrindavan, Radharani is often referred to as Krishodhari, or slender girl. Like the time the Brajabasis stood beneath Govardhan Hill, as Krishna held it above his head, I was reading, some young gopis had begun to worry that Krishna's unobstructed view of Sri Radha was distracting him from the task at hand, which was what? Keep the hill, keep holding up the hill. So one excited gopi called out to Sri Radha, please go away from the path of Krishna's eyes, O slender girl. Don't let Govardhan Hill fall from Krishna's hands as a result of his constantly gazing at you. And when Krishna heard that slender Radha, Krishodhari, was advised to leave his field of vision, let us say, he sighed in disappointment. Oh, and for that reason, Giriraj tottered for a moment on his hand. Oh, so beautiful. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Now there's another meaning to Radha being referred to as a slender girl, as follows. And that is, despondent at being separated from Krishna, Radha sometimes, or often you could say, displays symptoms of ecstasy that are disturbing. For example, in Vipalamba, or separation, sometimes she loses weight so suddenly and drastically that her bangles fall off her arms. You know, she becomes very, we can see she becomes very slender, and the bangles are falling off her arms. And I was thinking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to experience this love of Radha for him, he would also sometimes display such symptoms, to the extent that his body would appear as though no more than skin and bones. I also read once Subal spoke to Krishna about Srimati Radharani's extreme condition. He said to Krishna, as soon as Radhika saw you, she felt great pain in her heart. Bereft of patience, she rolled on the ground in ecstasy, bathing her body in her tears, while she wailed out loud. To ease Radha's distress, a girlfriend said, O girl who has become so slender, the darkness of night is approaching. Soon you will meet Mukunda. But should he see you in such an emaciated state? At this, Radha took heart, composed herself, and covered her face with her veil. Hare Krishna. Now, our acharyas say that just as sacrificial arenas are made of gold, Srimati Radharani's Attire waist is covered by costly dresses, beautifully embroidered and interwoven with valuable threads. A chain of tiny golden bells rests upon her waist. A second set of waist bells, which are actually described by the acharyas as a friend of her anklets. Wow. A second set of waist bells, they're described as a friend of her anklets, cover her opulent silken clothes. Now remember, we've discussed many times, everything in Vrindavan is fully conscious, even apparently inanimate objects. They're fully conscious, fully Krishna conscious, so we can understand how a second set of waist bells are friend of the anklets. Hare Krishna. The acharyas say that these bells, these second set of bells, proclaim by their jingling her every graceful movement, especially her dancing. Regarding Radha's waist bells, elsewhere I also read that when Krishna stole the gopis' clothes and joked with them from a tree branch overhanging the Jamuna, Srimati Radharani trembled uncontrollably from the cold as her jingling waist bells spoke up. They actually sang, O son of Nanda, how can you cause such discomfort to this delicate princess accustomed to palatial luxuries? This is wrong. the waist bell. This is wrong. And at this advice, Krishna at once asked the girls to come out of the water and retrieve their clothing. Everyone has a part to play in Krishna's pastimes. Actually, all the different rasas, the moods, are facilitating this mood of Madhurya Ras in Vrindavan. On another occasion, Krishna made a swing go so high that Radharani was shaking with fear. And at that time, her waist bells came to her to help her again. It's described that at that time the waist bells joined the petition. There's a petition going on here, coming from Radha's earrings, anklets, and necklace, again fully conscious, to make him stop. So her waist bells said, O Lord, fear personified fears your name. How can you cause so much fear to this helpless gopi? And this particular appeal by the waist bells caused Krishna to slow the swing so Radha could get off. Now, I was thinking that at times teachers give instructions by gestures rather than words. Like even in Italy, you see people talk with their hands. So sometimes teachers give instructions by gestures, like, rather than words. And a transcendental example is Radha's waist bells once taught Krishna a lesson by demonstrating how eager Radha is to please him. On this occasion, Radharani was in the middle of dressing up to meet Krishna when she heard Krishna's flute song urgently calling her. Come quickly. As a result, Radharani became, how's it described? Bewildered and anxious. And in that state of mind, she placed her ornaments in the wrong places. Amongst other things, she placed the ornament for her hair part at the end of her braid. She used eyeliner for tilak, and she smeared her body with footlac instead of putting kumkum here and there. Now, when she came before Krishna in this state, he noted, listen to this, that her necklace was surrounding her waist. And her waist bells, now silent, were hung from her neck. Seeing this, Krishna's heart melted to see these signs of Radha's love for him manifest in a disarray of dress and attire. Love is a very complex thing in Vrindavan, but we're beginning to understand, aren't we? Now, a well-known devotional poet named Chatur Bhujadas, he reveals some glories about Radharani's waist in one of his poems. He writes, O Rasika Jnana, meaning someone learned in the art of rasa. Listen carefully. A treasure of beauty stays on the waist of Kishori, Radha. She holds the most auspicious items on her waist. There she ties an iron and gold dagger, which is gifted to her by Mother Purnamasi in order to protect her from evil and bad eyes. There on her waist she carries a bag and a pouch full of gold coins, which shows her status as the daughter of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. She ties a waistband with gold bells and diamonds around her waist. She wears a waistband made of kusha grass, which shows her chastity. She binds a golden ring on her waist, which holds golden keys to a pasture known as Kunja Nikunja. We say Kunja, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja. Radha and Krishna are enjoying each other's association in a pasture, you could say, like that. So she has keys to that pasture. Wow, you need keys to get into this pasture? Jai Braj. She hangs a very small flute around her waist. Why? To hypnotize Krishna. And in one lecture we gave years ago, you remember? She plays the flute better than Krishna. Chaturabhuja prays, may the waist of Kishori always be protected by Rati, Cupid's consort. Hare Krishna. Now by researching, I also learned that Sri Radha's skirts or dresses are tied on her waist. She has different skirts, different dresses. They're all tied. And the string with which these dresses are tied is known as nividam. But the string is called nividam, or sometimes nivi in Sanskrit. And the knot that such strings make is called grantika, or granti. Now, a devotee scholar in Braj named Madhavadas, he elaborates, thank God, on these nividams, strings, and grantikas, knots, on the dresses of Sri Radha as follows. He writes, Nividam and Grantika are known as Saheli, twin friends. You can have twin friends. The Nivi string is made of the softest silk, which is threaded by Shatis, or the most chaste girls of Braj. This thread is softer than cotton, smoother than a sip of milk. Wow. Smoother than a sip of milk, brighter than a sparkling star, and more coolant than a monsoon breeze. More coolant than a monsoon breeze. Priyasaki gopis, very intimate. Priyasaki gopis tied the two ends of the Nivi string together on Radha's waist, and the ensuing knot thus appears like the top knot of Lord Shiva's braids. This Granti knot is glorious. Why is it glorious? It's glorious because it ties and holds together the limitless chastity and beauty of Vrindavaneshwari's waist. Nivi and Granti, it's described, are the two dams which hold the river of beauty which flows from the two sides of Radha's waist, which is adorned by countless jewels, and gold belts. In this way, the Sakis tie the Nivi string and the Granthi knot. He concludes, Shyamasundar's gaze always falls on these beautiful strings and knots of the queen of Vrindavan's waist. Madhava Das calls out, victory to the chaste Radha who holds her Nivi tightly in the midst of her loving pastimes. Thank you to that long-forgotten poet. Another poet, all glories to the poets, Govinda Das describes Sri Radha's waist as follows. Actually, when I was preparing for this class, I was thinking, how much information am I going to find about Radharani's waist? But by the glories of Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, it's there. So he writes, the waist of Sri Radha is a nectarian bliss ocean of beauty. A bliss ocean? A bliss ocean of beauty as it flows in two directions. The epitome of perfection and beauty stays in the center where her navel is located. The Priyasakis paint sharks, crocodiles, snakes, and tortoises on her waist with what? Sandalwood paste. They paint her navel like a lotus bud which holds a bee inside its petals. The lake of her beauty resides in her navel like a soul resides in a body. The beauty of her waist is always increasing. The poet Govinda waves a whisk in bliss at the divine couple of Vrindavan. That's his poem. That's his heart. Let's make it our hearts. So let us finish today with text 18 or 25 of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sri Rupa Chintamani. That book, translated, that means the Chintamani Jewel of Beauty. He writes, it's long, I'll just quote the first two lines to get going. Vani kritan kunchita shukshma keshan chuda manim ujvala patrapasyam. This is very, very beautiful. It's long, but thankfully so. O mind, please meditate on Radha's fine, curly, braided hair, the jewel, golden leaf, tilak, and curly hairs on her forehead, her eyebrows, mascara, anointed eyes. Meditate on her ears, the charming shark-shaped earrings near her cheeks, her pearl-decorated nose, her lips, her splendid teeth, her musk-dot decorated chin, her neck marked with 3 lines, and decorated with many necklaces, her gracefully sloping shoulders, her armlet, decorated arms and elbows, her lotus hands endowed with beautiful and auspicious lines and decorated with bracelets, her jewel urmikas, meditate on her jewel urmikas, her rings, her beautiful fingernails, her breasts covered with a splendid red bodice and locket, her flower petal abdomen with a line of hairs, meditate on her navel, her slender waist marked with 3 lines, her colorful undergarments, her blue petticoat. Meditate on her thighs, knees, legs, ankles, anklets, and ankle bells, her toe urmikas, toe rings, and toenails, the barley cone and ari beneath her left big toe, the urdhva rekha beneath her foretoe, the small chariot nearby, the lotus, flag, flower, and vine in the middle, the elephant goad beneath her little toe. Beneath that, a bracelet and parasol. On one heel, a half moon. On the other heel, a fish. Meditate above that, a flying mountain. On the sides, a shakti and pada. Under a big toe, a conch shell. Under a little toe, an altar. And beneath that, a beautiful earring. Thank you, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, for that it can be a constant meditation, actually. All these things are meant to be. We replace whatever we meditate on in this world, which ultimately brings no satisfaction. We meditate on these things, and shantushti, the heart, will be fully satisfied. So I really enjoy this service of giving you all these things as a stimulant for developing ecstatic love one day, by Prabhupada's grace, for Radha and Krishna. So thank you. I think we can get one more lecture about Radha's waist, as miraculous as it sounds. I'll do my best, and see you next Friday. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shambhu Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radha Rani ki, her transcendental waist ki, her dress and attire ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yajna ki, transcendental book distribution ki, Harinam Shankirtan ki, festivals ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe, Charm, glorious Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the